used to be in finals.
Yeah.
A year ago, you know.
Seems like a long time.
Yeah, so actually, DreamHack Winter is where the magic happens for NIP, where it always used to happen for them. So it's going to be interesting for me to see if they can. For me, Envious is the clear favorite to win the whole thing. So it's a best of one. Anything can happen. We saw in Cluj in the quarterfinals where NIP completely dismantled TSM, which was a favorite to win the tournament there as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that match.
And for me, Duncan, I don't know if you agree, but TSM versus
Yeah,
Team Liquid,
actually, I'm glad that they picked the other one.
Yeah, same.
Because I was thinking TSM Team Liquid, actually, because at the moment, TSM is weird. Even though they got to the final of this IEM tournament, they still look shaky. Like, they're losing on maps that are their maps. They're doing weird picks, even. So Team Liquid, in theory, has been getting better and better. They have kind of, I mean, they beat a VP without snacks, but still, they did it very comprehensively.
Yeah.
Maybe now is the time where they can get a single map upset over a big team, and suddenly we're off if the team wins.
And of course, in CEVO, we thought maybe they were on the downward curve. You know, they had some embarrassing defeats.
No, they were
there,
bad at
frankly.
that tournament.
So,
But they've picked it up since then at the NA lands, and now, yeah, at IEM, obviously they had the run to the semi, lost to the team who won the tournament. So I think now is, to me, it's more actually a test of TSM than it is of Team Liquid. I kind of know where Team Liquid is, what they're going to be good at, but let's see if TSM, if they're only going to be shaky versus top teams, or whether there is some sort of systemic problem going on in the team at the moment.
So just before we start talking about the first game of the day, which obviously, as we said, is going to be Virtus.pro versus Legacy, let's just talk about the sort of overarching kind of storylines here. I'm talking about how this is the era of Envious. I feel like I've been saying that for a long time. With the major win under their belt, I think they finally confirmed it. I said they would go on to be the best team in the world. I think they've done that. How long can this era last?
That's the thing. They've got the accomplishments right now. It's something I'm going to do a video on, actually, this topic, like, can it be their era, and go quite in depth. Because they've already got the run to start off with. They've had, like, 2 majors they made the finals of. They won a few events. They've got this, like, top rival, TSM, who they've got a dominating record over. It's all in place. They've beaten VP in best of 5, Fnatic best of 5, Fnatic at the major. They've got everything in place to be, like, the best team. But I still think there's, like, a couple of holes. And that's why for this tournament, what I'm most interested in is less TSM, because they look like they've got issues right now. I want to see how VP does. Because if VP comes to the final, I think VP's a team that has a chance to be Envious, because one of the interesting things about Envious is all the other teams who ruled an era tended to have, like, the best map pool of the whole era. The Envious has a few holes there, actually. Like, for example, they don't want to play Train or Overpass. At the moment, they always ban Overpass, so that means all the teams that have Train, thinking of VP, thinking of TSM, that gives them an in to potentially beat them. So in a best of 3 format like this, I don't think it's impossible that Envious can lose. They are the favorite, obviously, but I think this is going to be a test along the way to see, because if they just lose this tournament outright, that kind of puts the kibosh on that whole era thing immediately, you know.
Well, I agree. I think you need to, especially when you win a major, you need to come back to back in other tournaments and show your pedigree. But you said that Envious are your favorites to win this, so tell us a little bit about why.
Well, definitely, I think more than anything else, it's because of their play style. You could even see they had that after movie after Cologne, where you had, like, their team talk as well, and then at some point MBK says pre-game, like, okay guys, just play together, you know, follow your teammates, get the trade kills, it always works on LAN. So that's their mentality coming into that. They don't have as many, you know, complex strategies or whatnot. They play pretty much simple Counter-Strike, but really effective, really aggressive play style. And that's the thing with Envious. If they get rolling, it's really hard to stop them. Usually, we all know they like to force buy as well, a lot. So the key to beating Envious is getting, like, early control of the game. If you can do that, then you can beat them, but it's really hard to do.
Yeah, I think the one thing that really goes in the favor of Envious at this tournament is the fact that, well, as you said, they've been on a streak with good results, they've won the major, all that stuff, and the other top teams that have been their primary challengers more or less have made changes. Fnatic brought in Dennis, so they're probably not going to be 100% gelled at this point. VP are very up and down, and I think VP are going to be the team to take Envious down, if anyone is to do so at this tournament. Yep. NIP, you never really know what's going on right there. And then you have TSM, who've been all over the place as of late. So I think the strongest case for Envious right now is, you know, not only them just playing really well, but also their opponents starting to falter around them.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the other teams that are here that can potentially win this. We're talking about this new era of Fnatic, and of course, what's happened, Pronax, the in-game leader, goes out. Flusher takes over as in-game leader, something I'm not particularly convinced about. They bring Dennis in, obviously a very highly rated player from G2. I mean, is there a chance that Fnatic, having ended one era as the dominant force with Pronax as the leader, could immediately reinvent themselves and come back and have another Fnatic era?
There's an outside chance in as much as because we haven't seen them play a LAN yet. Sometimes, as you saw with this Envious line, sometimes you get the magical instant chemistry, which you can never predict, no matter what great players you put together. Sometimes you just get that initial click and you're off running immediately, you're winning events. So if that happens, it could be set up, but at the moment, I'd probably say no. Like, here's the thing. It's easy to look and go, oh, well, will this Dennis lineup be as good as the Fnatic one of the old? You can't think that way if you're Fnatic, because it's not like the old lineup can go back to what they were before. So that's not on the table. They just have to be better than the old lineup was very recently,
at the end,
which had dropped off a bit. So I think they can be. I think they've definitely got the potential for that. The big question mark is in the whole in-game leading aspect. Is at the moment, that's all over the place. They don't have a solid person to be the in-game leader. So to me, they have to, at the moment, initially, kind of go the Envious route and just use this mad skill that they've got in the lineup and try and get that rolling. And then if they do, they can certainly compete with the VPs and the Enviouses of the world, but will they be the dominant team? I think there's still a lot to even be proven about what the identity of the team is. Because I think if you ask the team, they wouldn't necessarily know where things are going to be and what roles are going to change.
Well, we'll come back and pontificate this about this some more in a moment. What we're going to do now is, though, we're going to introduce our other member of the team. It is, of course, Parler. He's going to be on stage doing a couple of pre-match interviews before our first game, which is Virtus.pro and Legacy.
Welcome, everybody, to the stage where I am with two representatives of each team. Taz, how you doing?
All good, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good as well, thank you. And then Ovnu of Team Legacy, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, so Taz, what are your initial thoughts going into this matchup here?
I think it's a must-win for us. There's nothing more to say. It's like we are not allowed to lose this game from our point of view, but we don't know how Legacy plays, so let's see.
Does that worry you at all? Can it, get into your head that you don't know exactly how these guys are going to come out and play?
Not really. I'm just happy that we are playing against them because most of the time it was Renegades and Immunity, so it's really nice to have someone new to represent the region, so I'm just excited.
Ovnu, you guys are undoubtedly the unknown quantity here, at least to the majority of us watching Counter-Strike. What can we expect from you guys?
We try and play quite a fast style. That's it, really. Yeah. Try and surprise them. Hopefully we can surprise them a little bit.
For sure. And the way you guys actually qualified for this, it was super interesting. There was like a tie, was it 3 or 4-way tie, and then you guys came out on top. What was that whole situation like?
People argued that we didn't deserve the spot, which is fair enough. We are the third team from Australia to come over, so it's a bit weird having a new team. I think it was a 4-way tie, but we beat Renegades and Immunity, but lost to the other teams, so we came through eventually.
How would you say you compare to arguably the better-known Australian teams like Renegades and Immunity?
How do we compare to them? Well, we were surprised that we beat them. So they're still above us, but I think the Australian scene is slowly improving and everyone's starting to catch them. So it's really good now in Australia.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to finish it off with Taz. Overall, what are your expectations for you and your team with this tournament? Are you confident? Are you, what are your overall feelings?
We are confident, and we are going for a win, and Legacy is just the first opponent in our road.
All right, well, best of luck, guys. If you want to shake hands, they are going to head off to the booth. And yeah, thank you very much, audience. We're going to head back to the guys at the desk.
Thanks for that, Parler. So there you had it. I mean, Taz showing a lot of respect to Legacy, perhaps a bit too much respect. He says, obviously, it's a must-win game. I mean, that's true, I guess, of any game. But Virtus.pro were one of the teams we talked about potentially winning this event. Didn't have a great time in San Jose. We're using a stand-in. We're back to business as usual now. So tell me a little bit about Virtus.pro and their capacity to win this tournament.
Yeah, I feel that actually Virtus.pro is really mad right now, because of the way they lost at San Jose. I think they're out for blood here, and they're definitely looking to win this tournament. Every team is. I think that I agree with what you said, that they're probably the team that can beat Envious here, their main contender for the title. So the thing with VP is now that they're back with Snags, their strongest player. We've seen that even at Cluj, he had an amazing performance, even though they lost to G2 in the end. If we always talk about this Virtus plow mode, if they can get into, if they show their A game, they're definitely a title-winning team.
Well, they had their A game en route to the final. We got a video now showing you how they accomplished that. So there you go, guys. The team that doesn't really need any introduction, but in case you're new to CS, we are going to give you one anyway. These are a collection of some of the most legendary players, and indeed, even with the new school players they added, just some players that have proven they are among the best in the world. Duncan, I'll bring you in. I know you know these guys inside out, so tell us about this Virtus.pro team.
Sure. I mean, on the left here, we've got Pasha, originally the face of the team, and when they obviously broke out and won that major, he was the best player at the time, but he actually had a period where, like, at the end of last year, beginning of this year, he was maybe, like, dipping in form a little bit. Feels like he started to get his form back together again. At the CEVO LAN that they won, he was having great maps, some crazy performances. Then the guy to to the right on the camera here is Bialy, the entry fragger, obviously. He's the guy who's known to be like a very aggressive player, but he's been having his ups and downs recently. It feels like he's the guy where he can go really hot and cold in this team, even when they're very good. And then I don't have it on screen, but off the top of my head, I think in the middle was Neo, which I think means that I wonder if that means that Neo's the in-game leader now, because they might have changed that up. So he's obviously a great player from the 1.6 days, but he's more of a supportive player within CSGO, and he is someone he's dedicated himself to that. He knows every flash, every smoke. He's a guy who really is putting a lot of time to kind of facilitate the other stars. Then there was Taz to his right there. Obviously, the guy does all the interviews, one of the faces of the team in terms of the public face. And he's a guy where it's interesting because he is a supportive player, but if you ever see them play Train, he's a really good player just on Train alone. He's actually one of the best in the world on that one map, so kind of interesting that he can still bring it out every now and then when he needs to be like a carry type player. And then the guy on the right was the guy they're missing when they were in IEM, and you saw how badly they needed him.
Oh, definitely.
They weren't even close.
The Mishu actually played quite well.
Okay. He played fine, but the problem was the whole team, just the identity was gone, you know. They weren't even good on their maps. That's what they were playing Team Liquid on. So Snax is one of the best players in the world. Even in losses, he can have like a star performance even if the team doesn't perform. So he's someone he's a candidate at every tournament to the MVP, really.
So look, we've got Legacy now. Now, no movie for Legacy. What I'll do for you, Vendetta, is just tell us a little bit about how they qualified it, because it was some crazy, wacky four-way tie. There was Salt, there was Tears, but of course, Legacy here, and I mean, I don't think you can argue that they deserve to be here.
I mean, they
win your games.
They qualified, so they definitely deserve to be here. Four-way tie, which doesn't happen too often. They got tied with Immunity, Renegades, and I think it was Chiefs, I want to say. That was last
Doesn't matter, really.
But yeah, no, it was a four-way tie, and they managed to beat out, as I said on the interview on stage, they managed to beat both Immunity and Renegades. So they obviously beat the most impressive teams from that region, but I guess the worrying thing for me is the fact that they dropped the game to one of the teams that didn't even make it into the four-way tie, right? So,
but I mean, they are right. You know what? The Australian scene is coming up. We're starting to see more and more talent develop out of that region.
Even people from New Zealand, because two of the players on that team is from New Zealand. That's the first time I think we ever have players from New Zealand.
Absolutely.
Coming to a big international event.
Absolutely. So I know you were digging through all the players, Duncan. You've got them written down.
Indeed.
So can you tell us about them?
Well, I mean, the most interesting player, actually, is this guy, Moku, who they have, who at the moment apparently is taking over the in-game leading duties, but he was also the entry fragger. I'll just skip that entirely because we've got graphics on the screen now for the pick ban.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to jump straight into the pick ban. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about the Legacy players once we've got that coming in. Now, you can see here from the new DreamHack graphics, Duncan, again, just talk us through this veto and what it all means.
So, the first ban there, Overpass from Legacy, very strong map for Virtus.pro, even though they lost on it in IMs. I know that I was without Snax. Incredibly strong map. I'm actually surprised that third ban rather for Legacy was Mirage, though. Supposedly that's one of their better maps, but it is also the traditional Virtus.pro map. Over on the Virtus.pro side, they always ban Dust 2 first. That makes sense. Inferno, that's the one where like they can play it. It's sort of a middling map. Cash is usually, I think, their second ban. That's the one that they haven't been so comfortable on. And for Legacy, it's an obvious ban to go with Train there. So we're going to end up on Cobble. If you look at the teams overall, when you consider what VP had banned anyway, because they'd taken out Cash and they'd taken out Dust 2, which is ones that Legacy won, I think actually this is probably the best middle ground they could get to against Virtus.pro. They have avoided the real killer maps, which is like Overpass, Train, Mirage. Cobble's still good for VP. I think they're a good team on it, but it's not that terrible for Legacy. I still think they're going to get wrecked, but it's in terms of how the veto worked out, this isn't so bad.
I mean, this is the awkward thing, isn't it? When you're the kind of underdog guys and you're coming in against a team that's as well practiced and so much experience as Virtus.pro, it's very hard to get onto a map where you're going to have the advantage. And I think Duncan's right. I'll bring your thoughts in about that veto. I think this is as best as they could have hoped for Legacy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the difference between a 16-5 and a 16-2. Like, really.
That's brutal.
No, but honestly, they couldn't. It's like Duncan said, they avoided the worst maps that they could possibly run into VP on, like Train, Mirage, and so on. So, you know.
Also, VP didn't do them any favors because VP, the two maps they want to always ban is Dust and Cash.
exactly.
If they're two of the three best maps for Legacy anyway, you kind of the best you can do is avoid the VP maps. Then you can't get to your own maps because they're banning them anyway.
And even then, if VP ends up, let's say by fluke accident, ended up playing Cash, they can absolutely play that.
Certainly,
they can play, you know, head-to-head versus the best teams in Europe on it. So I think Legacy has something lacking.
I feel like we heard it from the Immunity and Renegade guys in their interviews as well, that in their scene they struggle with the custom maps. Not a lot of teams play it. I think that's even more the case with Legacy here. I think, as Wen pointed out, it's a difference between 16.5 and 16.2. It's their first international event. Also playing against tier 1 teams here. So, yeah, I feel it's going to be a walk in the park.
I've got a bright spot for you, though, Rich. So when I saw their uniforms there, that, like, tree sort of image they've got, it reminded me of in the movie The Karate Kid, when Daniel LaRusso goes to the All Valley Karate Tournament, and then he gets given his first uniform by Mr. Miyagi, and he made his own crest that was sort of like that. It was sort of like an oriental tree.
Yeah, bonsai.
And Daniel LaRusso had never done traditional karate training. So maybe, even though they have no experience, and they're not a good Counter-Strike team, maybe by embracing the inner, you know, sort of spirit of Bushido or whatever, they could win this tournament like he did there.
Here's the problem with your analogy, though.
Okay.
I know Virtus.pro, if they had the option, they would sweep the leg.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to get
And
wrecked.
the problem is, the only team that actually used like evil demon magic to win tournaments is Nick. Remember, they do the like.
True.
Yeah.
They do.
Black
so
magic.
there's nothing left. Anders tells us about it all the time.
Yeah, he does.
While referencing Game of Thrones ad nauseum. For people who've never watched Game of Thrones, they're like, isn't this Counter-Strike? Can I hear about Counter-Strike? No, Game of Thrones, mate, all day. Reference game, almost on point.
Almost. You did do some research into the Legacy players. I feel this is a good opportunity to talk about, and we should highlight these players because we might not see a lot of them at the tournament.
So the first person to highlight is the player called Moku Hoge, who's at the moment's taken over the in-game leading duties, and he's the entry fragger, because actually he used to be called APOC, and he actually used to play at the end of 1.6 in some of the better teams.
Yeah, I remember him. He was
at the
in
time,
Immunity.
but he changed his name, so that's why no one recognized him. Supposedly, from my sources say, he's still a good player, and he probably could be in a better team, but he's someone who wants to play with like friends or people he's more comfortable with. So in a sense, he's like limited himself to that degree. That's why you might think, oh, he's in this like Leicester team or something. Suppose he's a decent player. In terms of the other ones, you've got the AWPer is Raz. He's probably one of the main people we're going to be watching here because the hype is that like he's one of the better AWPers in the scene over there. But obviously we haven't seen him on LAN, so no one knows about him in that particular sense outside of his region. So those are the main two players I'm interested to watch in this particular lineup.
And do you agree with that, guys? You're nodding your head, Ben.
Yeah, well, for me it's Moku, really, or APOC, as I know him.
Why do we know why he changed his name? I
have no idea, but it's a similar thing like you saw with Inkra and those guys, the former SOA or Spirit of Amiga guys, when they swapped from 1.6 to Source. They didn't want to get harassed by 1.6 people.
Right.
Swapped their nicknames, and nobody ever knew.
Yeah, don't bring the baggage.
Yeah.
But you leave behind the reputation.
That's true, and it's always been puzzling to me.
What they didn't realize was there would have been no embarrassment losing, because if you switch over to Source, no one's watching anyway.
Okay. Yeah, my life was a waste, basically. We established that.
What you got here, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I did.
Much like Vendetta and Yanko, you're on the big table now.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Duncan. So let's talk about Virtus.pro then. They did say we've got to win this game. They're showing Legacy all this respect. Is that a bit of kidology? Because realistically, even on a bad day for Virtus.pro, they should be blowing this team out the water.
Put it this way, if they lose this map, this might be the biggest single map upset in the history of CSGO.
Yeah.
I can't think of a lower ranked team who would be beating a higher ranked team. I don't think that's ever had, nothing even close to that, in fact. None of those like no-name teams have ever got a massive win like that.
The worst thing is, like, one of the biggest upsets we had was also at FACEIT. I think it was stage 1. Was it Immunity taking a map off of Fnatic or NIP or something like that? So maybe FACEIT just has a thing for us.
Yeah, could be
Magic.
But the thing is, like, we were talking about Cobble, how it's like middle ground. I think it's a terrible map for Legacy because of the way Virtus plays their T side. They're so aggressive. They almost rush drop zone, rush B platform, that area. I think that Legacy will have, like, I don't think they can defend from that, honestly.
That's the thing. In the end of the day, you want to say, like, they've got a chance here, but they've got no experience. They're just a vacuum of nothing. They're just a void of absolutely nothing, Rich. So in the end, it'll just be Legacy of the void after this tournament.
Very good.
Reference game.
Right, guys, we've got 90 seconds before we're going in the game. I'm going to start with you, Vendetta, and work my way in. Approximately 30 seconds. Give me your predictions.
Oh, that's going to be easy. 16-3 for Virtus.pro.
Okay.
Going for a 16-1 for VP.
Legacy of the Void's going to be deader than StarCraft 2. Wrecked 16-2 VP.
Okay, well, thanks for your thoughts, guys. That was very, very nice and quick. I agree with it. What I'm going to do now is then we're going to get into the game without any further ado. It is going to be Virtus.pro versus Legacy. We're going to throw over to the casters right now. Take it away, boys.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the casting desk. First up is going to be myself and Dan. Shout outs to the people in the crowd here. So, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm very curious what's going to happen here because this is unprecedented. It's like a third team from the Oceanic region actually making its way over. This could be cool to see these players because we've actually casted them, of course, in the Oceanic portion of our league. So we're familiar with watching them. But against Virtus.pro, I'm kind of feeling the same way the desk are feeling. This should be pretty brutal.
Yeah, I think Cobble's a tricky map here because from what I remember seeing of them in the league, I think Cash was probably what they would have loved to have seen, and what I would have loved to have seen as well. So Cobble's going to be a big question mark. And talking off camera, one of the things I thought was that for Legacy to have any chance, I mean, a best of one is ideal for them, being the underdog. But for them to have any chance, they need to try to control the match. And as Yanko was saying there, that might be difficult versus an aggressive T side from Virtus.pro.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, one team that also can tend to have very aggressive and a kind of style that Virtus.pro sometimes go to with the aggression and coordination on the T sides is a team like eFrag, which the Bulgarians, and we have actually seen that in their short stay here so far, Legacy did play some online matches, some leagues. They did manage to boot camp a little bit, and they did really struggle actually against that, and especially when it comes to that individual skill where maybe the team is playing, let's say, in a manner that's inefficient or something, but if they're just battering you with like really, really huge individual skill that you can't keep up with, it's so hard to deal with that style.
Yeah, they had an interview on HLTV where they were talking about the shock of the European style. Well, it will be Legacy starting on the T side here, as we can see, and Virtus.pro going to put the numbers over towards the B side as per usual here in a pistol round.
And we do have Snacks able to spot what's going on, so Virtus.pro understand it's going to be that quick B split. So here's the coordination. Can Snacks stop it? No, Ofnu will find the first kill straight away. So the floodgates are open right now for Legacy as they are on the bomb site, and the plant can come in, and we've got the retake from Taz and Neo. Shaping up now, Frags coming in, but Ofnu's going to stop Taz, and Neo as well will go down. So really fast round there from Legacy. They get off to the start that they need.
Yeah, so early days, but maybe they are securing their Legacy down as opposed to being in the void, as Thorin referenced. But we'll have to see how things continue. Virtus.pro going to be going for the force buy. We've got the Deagles coming out. They haven't actually spent all the money in the bank, though. None of the CTs buying any Kevlar here, so looking to secure their economy sooner rather than later, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, they can take a really fast start with this loadout that they have. Deciding to go towards B, and everybody from Virtus.pro is here. It shouldn't matter too much if they place their nades well, but in they go. We've got the RDUs up close. Raz going to drop down, take him out straight away. So looking quite okay for Legacy so far.
The nades on the platform have done a lot of damage to the Legacy people, and Virtus.pro trying to finish things up here. Neo goes down and leaving Taz alone with the Deagle, and he's on the wrong side of the choke point here at the door. We've got, well, now his position has been spotted, so he's going to have 3 players focusing his attention, and that nade's going to do massive damage. No armor on the final Virtus.pro player, so Taz is going to try and save this Deagle for another day. Maybe actually try and mix things up, see if he goes for the full save or if he goes over towards B to try and get another exit, pick up a weapon. There are 2 on the floor, but it seems he'll just be trying to hold down his Deagle with 11 HP here.
Yeah, 2 incredibly fast rounds so far to kick things off. It's like Taz is going to find some contact there. I mean, they don't need to go and kill Taz. There is definitely some risk there of course, losing their weapons, but not much gain because he's only got a Deagle, and it looks like they might find him. Yes, there we go. We got Busty who actually eliminate Taz in the end. So very fast rounds, very, very fast. I mean, both of those rounds were over in the first 20 seconds, essentially. So it's very nice. But and I think this is good style for Legacy to actually take, because the longer the rounds go, the more opportunities that Virtus.pro are going to get to edge out a successful round.
Exactly, and Virtus.pro have gone for 5 HEs again, and with that fast aggression from Neo towards A, they may have a good timing on the nades towards B. That said, there are 3 Legacy players outside the underpass, so they're going to avoid those nades for the most part. You can see all those nades flying in, but they did next to no damage here, so Virtus.pro's plan to try and steal the round hasn't paid off.
Yeah, we have that stack towards B bomb site, and as you say, It's not really working out too well for Virtus.pro so far. Legacy moving in, using those MAC-10s to get themselves past those close angles very, very quickly. They are almost on the bomb site right now. With the repositioning here for Virtus.pro is actually in a timely fashion. They do have players in place to defend. First frag will actually happen for Snacks, but in come all the SMGs, all the covering fire from all the Legacy players, and it looks like they'll clean this one up quite well. So, I mean, this is a good sign, actually. You know, you've got Legacy, they're applying some good anti-eco strategies, and they look clean and coordinated, and that's what you want to see. And that means that Virtus.pro, they're going to have to get it done on the buy rounds.
Indeed, I think most critics will see these first 3 rounds as non-rounds, basically, and now we will see where exactly Legacy will stand as they will face their first test of the Virtus.pro buy. The question is, are Legacy going to go for more aggression, or are they going to slow things down, see if Virtus.pro are going to turn it up to 100 straight away, try and work out what they want to do on their CT side? We'll have to wait and see. So it's going to be Pasha starting with the AWP. Again, we've seen Neo AWPing quite a lot on the team at the moment, but it seems that Pasha is going to be holding it down, at least for now, on Cobble.
Yeah, this is going to be so interesting to see what Legacy decide to go with strategy-wise. They know that there can't be very many nades because Virtus.pro did invest earlier on. And so they could opt to play a slow round to bait out those grenades, but it's like they're hanging around with most of their players towards the B area at the moment. Bit of a default round, but not too much A control. But Virtus.pro, because they're playing so passively, they can't quite understand exactly where Legacy will be with most of their players.
Yeah, so you saw Legacy putting the smokes over towards A as well as B, trying to deny the information. Pasha missing the first shot there, but you should expect a player to be stuck in that corner. That said, he doesn't want to get caught short, so he's going to move into a more passive position where he can go for the re-peaks. Seems that there's a smoke execute coming out from Legacy, including the Molotov onto the tree. We'll see how Virtus.pro react to this. Pasha's got a good angle there, but he's going to be blind, so he's not going to find any players just yet. First one goes down, it's Raz. Is the trade going to come in? Indeed it will.
Yeah, they know exactly how to deal with this situation. Legacy, they seem very coordinated right now. Once again, they're going to batter the bomb site. And we've got Buster who's taking control of the drop position. It looks like Virtus.pro just cannot defend at the moment against these Australians. And it's looking fantastic. Neo's going to be able to get himself a kill on the exit there of Mocha as he tries to rush him down. And eventually the trade will come in. And Legacy survived with 3 players. That round was not even close. It was a great movement. But you got to say, you know, Pasha missing that first opportunity on the shot, that made a really big difference.
Yeah, again, all the players being alive in that situation is going to make it better, stronger execute onto the site. So good start from Legacy. Still early days, and you do expect the T sides generally to get more rounds than the CT side. So I wouldn't be too worried if you're a Virtus.pro fan just yet. Let's not forget the 2 New Zealand players, though. I know this is a good time for the region to be watching, so I'm sure they're all tuned in, spamming Straya in the chat and other things they spam. The fast boost here from Snacks. Is often going to check the corner. No, he's going to walk out with a grenade in his hand. That's going to be a poor choice and an early gun here for Virtus.pro.
Yeah, and this is where some of the differences can be made as well for Virtus.pro. There's going to be a lot of surprises that Virtus.pro could throw Legacy's way, but this forward position here from Moku is absolutely critical in Legacy trying to stay safe and trying to close this round against the pistols. They should absolutely be able to crush this round, and so far, so good. And it looks like Virtus.pro likely recognize this, and especially with Moku in this position. We'll see Bialy going in for a refrag there. So Legacy losing a couple players here, so this is not as clean as they would otherwise have liked it to be.
This is actually quite dangerous for them because Raz got headshot by P250 earlier on, so it is a 3 versus 3, but if the CTs go for it, then the Ts are going to be in trouble. There's still enough time on the clock for them to do this. Now Raz trying to go on the hunt in a 3 versus 3 might not pay off, but it seems that VP may be content with trying to save these 2 AKs here. I mean, this is a round that they could, maybe unbeknownst to them, they had some potential to take, especially with the man advantage, but they're choosing, again, 4-0 down already. They're choosing to have a more passive approach, try and get some money in the bank here with these guns. The Pasha will eventually lose his, but Neo might be able to pick one up again. Indeed, he'll get another kill there, so a bit of that P250 is going to pay for itself, and then in spades with that AK coming through.
Yeah, really nicely done by Virtus.pro there. That damage is going to be pretty significant going forwards. Now, it's all a question of when they can start getting their momentum going on the CT side. It is, of course, the less favored side, the much harder side to play. But as we saw that first opening kill from the boost, I think there can be a lot of surprises for Legacy, just the more nuanced aspects of the European metagame and where you want to hide and how you want to take back some advantages. That's something that they're not going to be as used to. So I'm curious how Virtus.pro will find these small advantages to edge out the victories in the rounds, assuming that they're going to pull one out soon, because they are already 5-0 down. You would expect that they can have a strong round here. They do have a lot of grenades to work with as well.
So no AWP on the CT side this time, but those 2 AKs may come in importantly later on. Pasha finding a good angle now. That is a very deep smoke actually, which has caught Legacy off guard, so that's going to be a very big advantage for VP going forward.
It's Legacy in a pretty awful spot right now, and this is going to be a good test as well. And what can they do when everything is going pear-shaped? They'll just go for it, it would seem. Looking to get advanced positioning here on the B, but it's not panning out. Snacks there by the tree, and the grenades of his teammates is going to do the job there quite wonderfully so, and that's going to be the round for Virtus.pro. So they're going to start to patch things up a little bit, but how far can it go? There's still quite a lot of cash on Legacy. I think there should be more on Legacy after that last round, but
I feel like Legacy were baited pretty hard by how deep that smoke was. It wasn't a good smoke in terms of being completely covering the choke point, but that ended up being in Virtus.pro's favor as Legacy tried to dance around the corners of the smoke. But again, it was so deep that they got exploited there by Pasha. Early two-man pretty much shut out the round at that point. Didn't have enough space to execute. The fast boost coming in again. And Pasha's trying to hold things down now. He's got one push, but is that flank going to come in fast enough? Taking down two now on the platform area. And it looks like Legacy going to get wiped out again.
Yeah, that push from Pasha basically just committed them in, and Snags is going to take full advantage of Raz as he's blind. Very well done there by Virtus.pro. Very, very timely aggression, and I loved how they, threw the incendiary up first over the over just to protect the boost position basically, and make it so that maybe Legacy wouldn't suspect that Virtus.pro could potentially just rush a guy up there. So pretty smart stuff, and we can see Snacks is going to make a lot of bank because of that move. And now Legacy are down to the eco. We see P250s and the Deagle, no Kevlar. Neo's picked up the AWP, which I think a lot of people have been waiting for.
Indeed, and you'll have to wonder if Legacy will start to feel the pressure now. Timing, I don't know if Neo just heard a shot there, but going back and he will take down Buster. So, yeah, it should be a nothing round here for Legacy. They have invested next to nothing, just a few pistols, not much in the name of nades. There goes the bomb as well, so just Raz alive. So the question is, how will Legacy change their approach in the next round? Again, you have that, we talked about aggression on the T side, but even from the CT side, you're seeing the fast flanks coming in. Virtus.pro looking to just impose their will as much as possible. So how will Legacy adjust now in this round? We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, of course, the good thing is that they have already pulled together 5 rounds. So I think that's like a lot of pressure off already to just help them focus on playing their game and not worrying about the scorelines. You can see Offnu is really fragging quite well so far for the team. However, because Neo's now picked up this AWP, we're going to start to see small little pokes like this at the start of these rounds, and there it is, savage shot there from Neo, taking down Buster immediately at the start of the rounds. And now Legacy, down a man, what's the strategy going to be? You have a lot of options when you're down a man on a map like this, but what is Legacy going to choose? I mean, a drop play could be good, and they have shown that they have a propensity to go for these drop and be platform plays, and everybody is hanging out there so far for Legacy. So looks like they're gearing up for the brute force push, but there are 2 players lying in wait. Raz will take the first one down.
Yeah, they've got no Molotov for Pasha's position, which is what you'd normally do. The flashbang's coming in, but he's going to hear them and look away. There's a CT counter flashes as well, but he's not peeking just yet, not giving away his position, but Snacks goes down. No trade attempt from Pasha. Again, just trying to play this angle as much as possible. Perfect flash coming in, but this time he's going to be stuck in the corner, and they know where he is. A 3-man peek, but there's so many flashes coming out. It's down to 2 versus 2 now. Taz with an important angle, getting shot straight in the head now. 2 versus 1. Neo with the AWP on the side.
So far, this is a pretty sick round from Raz. 4 kills, looking to try to stack it up for the full 5 as Neo lurks behind the statue there. And first shot, he's gonna get the legs, and Offnu will finish him off. Amazing round out of Raz there. Considering the setup that Virtus.pro had, considering that Neo, he thinned out the push already, right at the start of the round, down to 4 players. That was amazing that they pulled that one out of the bag. I'm impressed by Legacy there. Yeah,
they've got to be careful though, because you could see none of them were actually looking at the site at all. They just made an assumption that Neo was elsewhere. Like, he's playing B, he's playing A, he must be coming from A, and they could have been in a lot of trouble there. If Neo has an AK, for example, then that round is over. So they definitely need to make sure they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's. Otherwise, they are going to get wrecked by Virtus.pro. But good, so far, so good. VP back on the buy here. Double AWPs this time. Pasha and Neo coming out with the big green guns.
Yeah, and actually, I think that's the first time Neo's actually not connected at all with his shot on the AWP. He's going to be forced back. And Legacy will have that information, and they'll go for the harassment here to drop. But we can see, as we can, we have the full overview of the map, that Legacy are going for that A split at the moment. But Virtus.pro don't know this just yet. Key position here for Taz. He's able to take down a couple players. Considering the bomb is in this position, Taz could single-handedly win the round, especially if he's going to have a teammate playing off of him, which he does have as well. So Virtus.pro, good setup defensively. Taz in with the first kill. He'll get the second as well. The bomb has been discovered, leaving just 3 players here. But Offnu is doing some mad work, and we get a double out of Neo. Great stuff here for Virtus.pro. Offnu on 10 HP. This is impossible. Neo's going to finish him off, and Virtus.pro, they are going to win the round once again.
I like the counter smoke from Virtus.pro. When they got smoked off the drop zone from the B-bomb side, they threw a smoke onto the other side to try and stop the ETs from making it into connector. So then Legacy have a player in the drop zone who basically can't do anything because it's a massive risk to push in either direction. And once the bomb gets seen on long A there, that's going to be a full rotation from the CTs, and obviously Neo with two-man is going to help things greatly as well. So Legacy will be the ones back on the eco, on the verge of breaking Virtus.pro once more. Virtus.pro survived the test. Coming in with more aggression here, another fast push in the drop zone area. See Snack's going to just try and run distraction by throwing the smoke as if nobody's up there. Let's see if Raz will go for the check.
Again, you can see us catching these guys off guard. He's going for the full spray down 3 players for Snacks, pulls out the USP, of course, gets the 4th player as well. Buster's going to go down, and that's Legacy just completely wiped out. And how often are Virtus.pro going to find different nuanced ways to actually push the drop zone with a boost like this and still keep catching Legacy off guard? Because it's happened 3 times now, actually.
Yeah, indeed it has. Well, let's see what the buy is of Legacy. It's going to be the double eco for them, in fact. So winning a round and then losing one straight afterwards is going to be really bad for their economy. So this is good. This is great for Virtus.pro to rack up a lot of rounds on their CT side again, the less favored side on this map. Snacks moving into a more passive position. There are flashes coming in, but again, there's only 1 player of armor here for Legacy, so they could get cut down again. Fire and bullets will be holding down the drop zone for now. Snacks with the other area covered as well. So it's a bit of a choke point here for Legacy. Buster getting 1 frag, but it might be consolation at this point. 2 going down eventually for VP, but they won't be too concerned with that just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. VP starting to look like they're getting some momentum and confidence about their play, starting to see players take a lot more shape and form. Snacks doing Snacks things. Neo doing just Neo things as well with the AWP, so things are starting to pan out indeed for the Polish side as Legacy look for a way back into this game to try to break them. But as we can see, the money is starting to get a little bit out of control here for Virtus.pro. They're not going to be on an eco anytime soon, and there's not too many rounds left in this first half. So Legacy need to find a good option. They're going to try to break Neo, and they might just be catching them off guard, but in comes Taz into danger. Only 1 frag for him, and now Neo, under a lot of pressure, has to defend against multiple assailants. Then he'll get the first kill, and the second one onto Mizu as well. Neo is just holding this down like a beast.
2 versus 3 now. We have the full rotation coming in from Virtus.pro, but Legacy still have options available to them. There's over a minute on the clock here. Raz is fairly deep though, and if he loses a bomb in that position, then that could be the round. You can see Ofnu going to slow down as well. So Raz is going to hold the angle, see if the CTs go for some information. And as this clock continues to tick, then Virtus.pro are going to have to move back towards the B-bomb site as they are doing. I think they might be going for a boost and a drop actually. That would help a little bit indeed. You can see Pasha there. So he's going to try and hold down a rotation towards B, which will allow VP to focus 2 men towards A.
It's kind of nuts how much Neo slowed down the push. Ofnu and Raz looking to get it done now as they edge slowly forwards into this A site. Neo is in a very devious position though with the AWP all the way at the back, and Yali's going to catch Ofnu off guard and take the attention all the way away, and then we'll tap down Raz to finish off the round. So Virtus.pro looking to just clean up all the remaining rounds for the first half to get themselves a strong finish in what was a very tumultuous beginning. Tumultuous even.
Only 2 rounds left in the first half, so we'll see what Legacy choose to do here. Again, things not going their way as of late. And indeed, they're going to be on the semi-buy here with the Tech 9s and full armor on this occasion. Flashbangs as well, so they're going to have to play those close quarters. Neo getting flashed off, going to be pushed back, but there's still Virtus.pro focusing 4 men over towards B-bomb site.
Here it comes. The good old Tech 9 and grenade executes. It's going to be interesting to see how Virtus.pro deal with this one. Nice position here from Pasha, boosted up. You can see under the legs of the statue. Quite creative boosting from Virtus as usual, and there's the first defensive kill coming in from Pasha as these Tech 9s start to get themselves into this bomb site, but Snacks will leap through the smoke, take down Raz. Taz is coming in for frags as well, and it's just going to leave Buster, who's stuck up on the platform, and Neo is going to pick him off as well. Again, well-controlled round by Virtus.pro. Good counter grenades will save the day.
So, final round of the first half, we'll see what buy Legacy have coming their way. Going into the second half, we will need to see a lot from their CT side now, as I'm sure they will have wanted to get a lot more rounds, especially with that start they've had. I think Virtus.pro chained this through a fair few rounds in a row now. Again, the double AWPs for Virtus.pro in this last round. We can see there all those rounds in a row. I think the 5 rounds in a row there for VP. See that it's 5. We'll see if they can make it 6. 5 AKs here for Legacy. And again, you've got a 2-man push here from Virtus.pro towards long, so Neo's going to have some support initially, but now Taz is going to move to a more passive position as Neo continues to search there. Finding Buster, no response yet from Legacy. Neo's going back to the well one more time. Taking down Ofnu as well. Finally traded by Moku.
Yeah, very, very crazy there. I mean, Neo just doesn't want to say no to these fragging opportunities, and this is the kind of dangerousness we're going to start to see from this Polish side. Mizu is going to come in with a frag there towards the B platform, but with this kind of confidence for Virtus.pro, where they're starting to take these peaks kind of willy-nilly, it's a scary proposition to be up against. And here it goes. We've got Legacy now trying to make the final push to bust into this bomb site, but it's not going to happen so far. Byali will take down the first player, leaving just one man left alive, but not for long. Snacks will take him down, and that's going to be a 9-6 first half. As you say, Virtus.pro, I mean, it's a bit of a shaky start, of course, but they found their footing relatively quickly.
Indeed, it was a good pistol from Legacy, and they will need another one. Otherwise, this may be a fast second half here from Virtus.pro. 9-6, Virtus.pro won't be too concerned with that. Again, I'm sure Legacy will have wanted to get to around 10 rounds on that half, but Virtus.pro said no. They denied them the opportunity. So now here comes the pressure from the second half. We're going to need to see a lot from Raz's AWP if it is he who will be AWPing for the side. Be curious to see if he's going to play like a JDM64 style over towards the B-bomb site, or if he will be playing A-long, for example, as you can often find AWPers doing. Neo was doing that earlier, just now, in fact. Time will tell, but first comes the pistol. Again, it's an important one for Legacy to win. And I think if Virtus.pro win the pistol and don't get force bought on in the next 2 rounds, if they survive those tests, then I think the game should be theirs.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be really hard to stop Virtus.pro's aggression if they start really getting going. And we'll have the first little foray there into enemy lines. Taz is going to find a backstab there onto Ofnu. And that's a pretty important kill there, because Taz can shut down, of course, what Legacy might have thought that they knew. Now it's just a big question mark again. We've got Neo just diving through the drop zone, but he's going to be also followed by so many other players from Virtus.pro. Look at this just army, this march from the Virtus side straight into the A-bomb side, as if it's completely for free. Nobody's even tagged yet from Virtus.pro. And again, the backstabs are coming in. Snacks is just going to completely execute 2 players there. That's not a good start, James.
That was literally a perfect round.
Yeah.
It was the most perfect round I have seen in any pistol round ever in Counter-Strike Go. Not a single point of damage on any player. You see, Byali, Taz, and Neo all had Kevlar, which means they get helmets for $350. So their economy is in a good place. Coming out with a big gun straight away, 2 AKs, 2 Galils, just the 1 MP7 on the side, expecting the Force Buy from Legacy, expecting the helmets, which they will indeed have. Save for Buster, just the Deagle and Kevlar onto him. So what can Legacy offer in this round? There were good gimmicks at the start there from Virtus.pro, and then the best of one, they can be what takes you over the line versus a matchup such as this. But Byali leading the charge here with that MP7 now, that moving accuracy will come in handy. Often with a CZ against 3 players, we'll need to be careful here, as the trade is likely. He will get no frags.
Yeah, not looking too good here for Legacy on this defense with this Force Spite. And that is, of course, going to weaken them in the rounds to come as well. And I'm actually expecting to see out of Virtus.pro a strategy where they, when eventually we'll see the buy out of Legacy on their CT side, of course, because of the Force Buy that they just went with and not even getting any frags out of it, really, they're going to have very limited amounts of grenades, very low levels of utility. And this is something that can be very well exploited by a team like Virtus.pro, because they can just play a slow round, bait out all the grenades, then go for the execute when they know Legacy is completely out of utility to try to counter the push with. So it's going to be very hard times here for Legacy.
Yeah, so you've got the grenades coming in for anyone playing shenanigans up close. And again, Byali just going to charge, making that paper. Look at that, $1,200 in the bank. A few more players to find, and again, this is going to be a nothing round from Legacy. Often doing what he can. Pasha goes down, but again, that's just a consolation frag at this point. Ofnu's going to get naded into oblivion, and now the second half will really start with Legacy half the score of Virtus.pro.
Indeed, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing the approach here, because I highlighted what I feel like is you could argue is one of the stronger strategies for a round like this. But teams, they like to do whatever feels good sometimes, as opposed to what might make the most sense in a theoretical standpoint. So see a fast nade over the top there from Snags. Wow, and we'll have to see whether or not Legacy are going to try to play aggressively at all, or if they're just going to just lie in wait here with their limited utility. Because some CT sides would say, all right, we got low grenades, we got to try to even the scales somehow, and some teams go to aggression in that instance. But Legacy are just waiting here.
Virtus.pro are the masters of running smokes We saw them do some crazy smokes on nukes back in the day, and now we're seeing it again on this map as well. That's absolutely bananas. But here we go. So Legacy have been denied information, and they're having to make a gamble, essentially, because they've got smokes down, have the Virtus.pro side on both sides of the map. So Legacy have no idea what's going on. They're making a gamble that maybe it's A, but they kind of spread out across the whole map, so you can see they have no idea what's going on. They've got a bit of a crossfire setup here. The baiting coming in, but obviously he's not going to get any frags regardless. Flashing coming in now, and 2 fast frags going to thin the numbers of Virtus.pro, but it's Legacy who are stretched across A and B.
Yeah, very, very timely help coming in there from Moku. He's actually going to get more work done here. Nice frag onto Taz. So the approach has been stopped for now for Virtus.pro onto that A-bomb site as Neo tries to get himself across, and he has to pick up the bomb as well. So not the best situation in the world here. Virtus.pro, they are down a man. Moku's going to come back in and resurface, but Neo will shut him down straight away. So 2 versus 2 now as Legacy desperately try to eke out this round. They need this badly, and Pasha and Neo will come alive in the closing moments to finish it off. And that was a really good round from Legacy in that they had to go into panic mode more or less, and Moku kind of came in to save the day, the kind of floating player, but still Virtus.pro is hard to stop them.
Yeah, I think the superior experience from many years of European Counter-Strike shining through, should I say, for Virtus.pro in a somewhat dire situation, just making the right decisions, playing the clock, and getting those final kills. So Legacy back on the eco here. Virtus.pro getting pretty close to those final rounds. And see, there isn't really a solid plan here from the Legacy side. It's going to be spread out and getting killed one by one. So not really putting the power of these guns together. On the wrong side of the choke points now, only Mizu remains. Mizu is Japanese for water, but their water's not passing well through the cracks of Virtus.pro here. Continue to march towards victory in the first game of the season finale here of the FACEIT League at DreamHack Winter.
I guess impermeable is a word I could use to describe Virtus.pro. And they also are a team that's one of the best at not cracking under the pressure as well, to be honest. Virtus.pro, so, I actually said, is, like the experience that you're talking about there, that's massive. I think they were talking about Taz on the desk, and you know, he can have up and down performances based on what he's actually doing you know, on the team, because the roles for Virtus.pro do switch up quite a lot. But they're one of the best teams actually at making just ridiculous role changes work all the time, because all the players are just so experienced and so good. So they've always got something to go towards. And this could be one of the last opportunities here for Legacy to get back into the game. Of course, 14-6 is the score, and Virtus.pro are hitting this with a fast pace.
You can see Raz finally on the AWP, but is it too late? That's a good start from him, taking down Neo now. His position is known. Mizu's in a good spot though. Sneaky spot. We saw Tazin in the first half trying to reposition now, but he's going to get taken down in trades. And all of a sudden, Ofnu is all that stands between Legacy and match point. He falls as well, and now Legacy are in a very difficult spot indeed. It's just so long for them to get that AWP on that CT side. If they went for the double eco after losing the pistol, then maybe they would have had a better chance, been in a better spot to get the AWP earlier on. And it, you know, there was a glimmer of hope there, but it didn't last very long there.
Oh no, absolutely not. It was snuffed out pretty quickly. And say, I mean, there's one more buy left before it could be curtains here for Legacy. Let's see if they can make it happen. They've got a Scout on Raz. They've got Mizu on the FAMAS. It's not the most optimal buy in the world, but perhaps they can show us some magic here with this. We do have Virtus.pro looking just to finish it with a quick drop play and some B platform pressure. They got someone watching the flank as well. So Virtus.pro looking for that just systematic removal of these players who are playing defensively. But so far, it's Mizu and Moku with a defense that's going to make Virtus.pro think twice.
You can see Neo making a play over towards the A site now. There is a player in position. I think it's Ofnu actually holding the underpass area, and Raz is getting in that work with that Scout actually. Ofnu holding things down as well with Neo pushing through the smoke. So Bayali remains, and now it's a case of damage. How much damage can he do to this CT side? It can't afford to lose any more players. There's another one gone. Bayali gets caught with a nade in his hand, and Legacy will survive for now.
It is Raz. No, Raz can't find any AKs there, so that's unfortunate. He's just going to be on the Scout still. And we'll get another buy out of Legacy. Let's just say, how long can they keep this going? What is the endurance like here for Legacy against what Virtus.pro are going to be able to show them? Because they picked up double up now, so they're going for a pretty ridiculous sort of a setup. They can definitely put a lot of pressure on Legacy when it comes to the picking game. So if Legacy try to get aggressive in just any sense, they're going to be in trouble, I feel.
Yeah, they're going to be lacking information, or the information will be delivered by way of cold steel from those AWPs. See Pasha in a position to look over the smoke at the moment. Yeah, moving towards the underpass now. There are 2 players over towards A. You saw Virtus.pro quite often playing one. Just Neo there on his lonesome. But again, Legacy just with no information at the moment. You can see 4 players for Virtus.pro over towards B now with Neo rotating into that position as well.
This is going to be quite a tense round here, of course, for Legacy. It could all be over very shortly. And we'll start to see a huge amount of grenades soaring through the sky as Virtus.pro look to make their way in. Quick pop flash to get Mizu safely out of position, and also a little bit of information. So looks like Legacy are starting to rotate a little bit. They figured it out now as Virtus.pro make the move. But there it is, first kill going to Mizu. Buster is going to hold down the flank as well as Virtus.pro try to get themselves out of the drop zone, onto this bomb site, onto a coordinated split. But it's just the 2 ops that are remaining. This is a very hard position for Virtus.pro.
There's a good chance for Legacy to pick up an AWP now if they can make it through this round. 20 seconds left, and it looks unlikely for Virtus.pro indeed. They'll both go down, and Mocha will pick up an AWP for Raz. So, but the thing is, Legacy, I mean, that was a good round for them, but they're looking nervous. You saw the pop flash come in towards towards the B plateau for Miko to peek. But he peeked before it went off. He got flashed by his own teammate, and he should never be peeking that early there. So you can see that the nerves are definitely in play here for Legacy. They've got the AWP though back onto Raz, and he needs to be cold as steel right now.
Absolutely, and we'll have to see whether or not Virtus.pro are going to get the aggression really going, because Legacy were able to actually preemptively stop that and responded very well, to be honest. So Virtus.pro will go with a bit of a different round opening. This time they're going to take some map control towards A, and they're actually bringing the bomb with them as well. So this is very, very suggestive that they're going to finish on the A bomb site, and there's going to be no messing around in between. And there is one player very forward, I believe it is Ofnu actually, as Pasha is looking to get some pressure. And this is going to waste a lot of utility for Legacy, but also keep players from rotating. And there you go. Moku's actually going to take Pasha down. That's a very big win for Legacy.
Yeah, really important he had an AK in that position, otherwise who knows what would have happened. And Legacy had a different approach over towards the long A site, so they didn't have the information, but Virtus.pro have indeed seemed to have chosen to go towards B. We've got trades coming around the B site, actually. The drop zone now is vacant as far as the T's are concerned. No flanks coming in from the CT side. They've got a man advantage for the time being. We'll have to see where Raz's position is, as I'm sure they would like him to be where Mizu's standing right now, so no AWP frag for him just yet. Indeed, he is over towards the connector, and that's allowed Virtus.pro to get onto the site. 3 versus 2 now as Raz needs to get through this choke point. Just Bali remains now with the bomb. They know where he is, so this should be another round in the bag for Legacy. Indeed, it will be. Starting to close this gap, but still 6 more rounds to get for overtime.
Do you believe in the dream? Is the dream alive? Or does the dream exist, James? Is it all an illusion? We're going to find out soon if Legacy can really just take this all the way to that overtime. It does look like they're quite comfortable at the moment, and Virtus.pro are throwing varying rounds at them strategy-wise, and they don't really have much money to play with at this point.
Well,
so
this is another variation which Legacy might not be prepared for. We've seen matches won and lost on eco rounds and force buys. Is it going to be the case here? Often with a good start. There's a bomb as well. That's going to be very key going forward. Snacks jumping into the drop zone. But it's going to be a lot harder in this round for Virtus.pro moving on.
Yeah, and Legacy are very aware that they've given up the drop zone and that it's actually currently occupied by a few Polish players. And Moku will find himself the first kill. He'll investigate to see if there is more, and he will be met with a bullet to the face. Moku is now down and out for the count, but Mizu is in place to clean up. So Pasha unable to really do a lot in this position. There's more or less a firing squad set up for him as he tries to get that bomb at the, just precariously placed at the bottom of the steps. And that will be the round for Legacy. Handled very well, as you mentioned. Can be difficult to deal with the Tech 9s, but they managed to pull it off, and yet more match points still to contend with. But there is definitely hope at this point. The gap is really closing.
Yeah, a positive is that Legacy don't just have the money to buy, but they've got the money to full buy with nades, diffuse kits, etc., which you never know if that will make the difference moving on. So we'll see if they can continue their momentum. Again, we've got the AWP onto Raz, no AWP onto Virtus.pro in this round after going for a half buy in the previous. Raz, though, going to be splashed out of position. Probably expecting him to be over towards the B site, so rotating his position is good. We have a deep position on plateau from Moku towards B. We'll see if they're brave enough, the CT side, to start pushing and get the information, as this time they've only got one person over towards A long at the moment. That's Ofnu.
Yeah, this is going to take big individual play here for Legacy. Ofnu in with the first kill. He got backstabbed immediately. Good setup from Virtus.pro to actually attack that position correctly. And now with that trade, they'll speed up the pace to get themselves into the bomb site, beat the rotation of these CTs. But now it's on Raz. He's got to step up to the plate. He'll get taken down. Neo in with the shot from the side. And we've got more players here from Virtus, but they are down a man at this point. Snack sneaky as always. Through the back, we'll find the kill onto Mizu there. Snacks is an assassin. But how many more will be assassinated here? As Legacy are knocking on the door of this A-bomb site.
Yeah, they're just waiting for that plant to go down. They're going to hear it now and start moving in. So Snacks gets taken down in isolation. Pasha looking to play around the smoke. Is he going to make it out alive? He's got an angle, almost a two-man spray down. Buster going to survive. Going straight for the defuse. He's got time to pick up an AWP. I really hope he does. Indeed, it is just between the site and the APC. So it was interesting that Raz opted to pick up the M4 and drop the AWP there. I really want to see him getting that AWP in for his team, as I think it's going to be important for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know you've been itching to see it. You've been mentioning it a few times, and I agree completely. Raz is...
oh, we have an also sniper.
Is quite a beast. Oh, yes. This is going to be a nice mix-up, isn't it? Oh, yes. We saw MBK do some very important work with this weapon at the major.
Exist likes to use it on this map, if I'm not mistaken, as well. We'll see if he
correct.
can be effective. Maybe expecting a bit of a rush here towards B, a bit of a mix-up in approach from Virtus.pro.
Yeah, we've got just some light pressure towards the B platform to eke out some grenades from Legacy. As Virtus.pro will find the first kill. Buster's dead in drop zone. That's a very big opening now that Virtus.pro can fill. Snacks looks like he might be the player to do that. And off to good response here from Legacy. You know, losing a man on one side of the map, pushing elsewhere. They need that info, and they're getting return frags. So 3 versus 3, definitely not an ideal situation with a minute on the clock for Virtus.pro to play with. But Legacy haven't been backed into the corner and beaten down. They are fighting back here.
Yeah, that slowing things down for Virtus.pro here, because that forced Snacks to go and collect the bomb. It's running on Taz at the moment, but definitely put Virtus.pro in a sticky spot. So what is the play here? They're trying to throw the nades in, but it's not really working out, and Taz has smoked his team off. We've got the counter flashes coming in from Moku, and he's the only person on the site at the moment. Going to win the duel with Snacks, actually, and that's going to stop Virtus.pro from making it onto the site just yet. Still on the plateau choke point, but things are opening up now for them. That Molotov's going to make it hard to get the plant in, which was the idea there. Taz now is going to be very important to be alive here in a 2 versus 1 with 11 HP, and now he's the only one left here. 15 seconds for him to try and get the bomb plant. Mizu's gone for a quick shoulder peek, seeing where Taz is. They're going to position himself to stop any plant from coming in. So Legacy survives, skin in their teeth. And Virtus.pro will have to try again and again.
Are we going to see a timeout at any point, do you think? Because Virtus.pro, they could just say, all right, guys, let's just figure this out. What's going wrong with some of these rounds? Where are we getting exploited? Because, I mean, at the moment, I mean, Legacy, they're doing well on the individual plays. I mean, it's not huge individual plays, but that one CT that's got to get that 1 or 2 frags, he'll get it. That's, you know, these one-on-ones, they're managing to win them with a good success rate. That's really keeping them in this. And Virtus.pro look like they are not messing around here. This looks like it could be a blistering fast round.
Yeah, they've gone to the half-buy once again with Armor and Kevlar. Is the point going to be checked? Moku may go unnoticed. Finally, they're going to do a 180 and see him, but the damage has been done so far to Virtus.pro. It picked up a rifle, in fact, but they're stuck behind the smoke at the moment. The auto sniper is still in play. Pasha coming in now, close to the Tech-9. Could get 2 frags here. That could be massive. 2 versus 3, and it's Buster versus 2 now. He is on the site around the smoke, but he has to do this for a team, otherwise they are donezo. The plant might come in there because of the cover Virtus.pro have. They're going for a double peek now. He's been spotted as Buster, and he's only got 22 HP. The plant's coming in safe behind the statue, and he can't punish it, and that's going to be that. Bayali coming in with the final frag there to take the first game of the FACEIT finals.
Wow, I mean, Legacy, they definitely started to show up there on their CT side. I was actually very impressed because for me, that is by far the harder job to do on the Cotton Cobblestone, and against Virtus.pro all teams as well. So impressive showing. It looked like they were going to have one of these matches where they won the pistol round, they got the next couple rounds, and then that could have been their lot. And that's a horrible way to have your tournament start, essentially. I mean, we've seen other teams who've come over from other regions. I think maybe Liquid's debut, I think at our Stage 1 finals, for example, they had a story like that, and that was kind of crippling. But I feel like they can look at this, not as a win, of course, but as something to draw confidence from.
Yeah, we did say that, you know, for a team like Legacy, the half buys with the Tech-9s and Armor will be as dangerous for them as the full buys from one of the top European teams like Virtus.pro. So, and it came through for Virtus.pro finally in the end there. And again, we never really saw the effect of the AWP auto sniper on Taraz, which I think was key in that scenario. So again, it was looking good for Legacy with the momentum they had, and I thought that was a round that they should win. But again, you never know when you're up against Tech-9s. So I think Paula is on stage with Cuban now for an interview, so we'll go over to him.
That is correct. Cuban, that was an interesting match. I think it was a lot closer than everyone expected.
We are happy there is a third Australian team playing that good level.
Yeah, I mean, so was that, you know, your take on it? They just played some good Counter-Strike. It wasn't that you guys were maybe slower than you wanted to be out of the gate.
Yeah, we usually sleeping during first 5-6 rounds. Then we woke up and managed to find the 9 rounds in a row. Was it in a row? I'm not sure, but we had a good result as City. We know that we have a strong T side. We made a couple of mistakes as terrorists, but finally we won the game. So.
Why do you think you struggled to close the game out? Because you had quite a few match points before you managed to get the 16th round.
Everyone is making mistakes, like we don't listen to each other. We have played too quickly, I think. That couple of rounds we lost, having 15 round. Yeah, that's the reason, I think.
What about your role specifically in game? You know, when the guys are playing, do you make calls? Do you make suggestions? I'm sure many people out there are interested to hearing what Cuban does when the games are going on.
While we're playing, I'm just giving small advices during the round, say talking about rotations. And when the in-game leader has no more ideas what to play, I'm just giving suggestions.
All right, and now I asked Taz briefly about this before the match. Overall, what are your expectations coming into this tournament?
We want to win, of course.
I mean, do you think you have a good chance? Do you think, like, how do you stack up against the other best teams at the moment? You know, the Envious, the Fanatics, etc. TSM.
I prefer just to think about the next game, not about the whole tournament. So I'm just focusing about the next match. Like, we're gonna watch the game TSM against Liquid, and then we'll just focus on the group stage matches. We are not thinking about semis yet.
Fantastic. All right, well, Cuban, thank you so much for your time. You can head off now, celebrate with your team, and get ready for the rest of your matches. Before that, though, before we see more Counter-Strike, we're going to head to a commercial break. But before that, I would like to give a quick shout-out to one of our awesome sponsors, which is the Score Esports. They have a brilliant app where you can keep up to date with the live scores of games and all the awesome esports news.